Hey everyone, welcome to part 4 of .NET Core 6 Web API CRUD. In this video, we're going to be testing our services and repository using Swagger UI. Okay, so in our last video, we implemented our generic repository and unit of work patterns by basically creating an iRepository interface, a base class which holds our DB context, and an implementation for our repository interface. And then we went along and created our unit of work, which is basically creating services. We created a contact service by creating an iContact service interface, which models our, it's very similar to, I should say, our iRepository interface, except it has concrete types instead of generic. And as well as a services base where we inject our repository and an implementation for our iContact service. One thing I do want to make sure is to make sure that your constructor here in our contact service, that the modifier is set to public and not protected or anything like that. Otherwise, you may have some issues with the dependency injection in program.cs. So before we can actually test this, we need to modify our contacts controller. So let's go in there. And what I'm going to do is the first thing I want to do actually is get rid of some of this null checking stuff. We don't really need this. We have services and a repository that's going to be handling a lot of this. We're going to be changing most of this, although it's going to be very easy because as soon as I change this variable out, you're going to see we're basically going to go in and just correct all the errors. So I'm going to replace our DB context with our contact service. So I'm going to say iContact service, bring in the namespace, control dot, and I'm going to call it underscore contact service. And for our constructor, we just need the same type. So we need a contact service here. And we're going to set our field equal to our service. So essentially what we're doing here is injecting our service into our controller now. So now that we've done that, now we can work with our contact service. So the first thing is, just like I said, we're going to go and fix all the errors. So I'll just say contact service dot get contacts. Okay, no wonder there's no intelligence because I didn't get the right one. Okay, so let me just copy that. Now we can just call the methods in our service. So contact service dot get contact, that's in the ID. Now for our update, this entity state modified thing, this is all already being handled in our repository. So we have entity state modified, which is injected into our service, and our service is injected into our controller. So all this stuff is available here. We don't need this line, we can delete it. And once again, I'm just going to take my contact service and call my contact service method. I'm going to call the method. So put contact, and that's expecting a contact. And there we go. I'm going to make a change here where I'm going to say something like await and just add an ending parenthesis here. We'll fix that in a second. And let's see. Once again, I can get rid of this. So we don't need this. So our add method, our context.add, so that's also being handled in our repository. So if we go to our post, dbset.add and save changes is already there. So all this stuff, that's why we can get rid of it, because it's already being handled. So we do need to keep the await. We need to say await contact service dot post contact. Yep, contact, and that should be good. Okay, and once again, we can get rid of this. And we do need to go and get a contact. So instead of using our context, we're just going to say contact service. And now we can actually use our predicate method here. This is a good opportunity to do that. So let's go here. So actually, not this one. Let's go ahead and use this. We could use the other one, but I want to go ahead and pass in a link expression. That way I can test out that method too. So I can say something like C such that, C dot contact ID dot equals ID. So there, I need to get the contact. And we can, this remove thing is also handled by our repository. So if we go to our delete method, we have remove and save changes both being handled in there. So we don't need that. Get rid of that, and save changes we're going to replace with contact service dot delete contact that we just got. And finally, I'm actually going to make this bool so we can actually, we're going to be able to test this method out too. So async task, making it async actually, or public, and I'm going to make it a task. And for this, we're going to need to put a route on there. So HTTP get, and we'll just say exists ID. So what I'm going to do is go and find this contact. Now, I think I'll go ahead and use my other predicate expression here. So the one for the list, so get contacts, I'll go ahead and do that so we can test that one out too. So we'll say contacts equals await contact service dot get contacts. C goes to C dot contact ID dot equals ID. And then for the return, we can just say return contacts dot count. Oops. Count greater than 0. Why is it complaining? Because I need to call the get contacts method, and there we go. So now I'm just going to do a quick build. And we hit Control F5, and now we've got a Swagger page open. So let's just go ahead and test them real quick. So try it out, execute. There's our list. Post. Try it out, execute. Got a 201, which is good. Going to go back to our database. Let me connect there and just get into the right database. So 1006, that's the one we just added. Let's go and get that one. Okay. There it is. Do an update. And okay, try that. Let's go check it. There's our new value there. Okay, we have delete, but one other thing I want to check the exist. So we're going to see that 106, it returns Boolean, so this should say true. And it does, our response is true. Finally, we'll do a delete 106, try it out. And there we go. Let's go back to our database. Boom, it's gone. So that concludes our .NET Core 6 Web API CRUD tutorial. See you next time.